Hello everyone, Mark Major here at the Action Figure-atorium. I'm a real big toy collector and I always like to follow along with what's going on in the toy industry. Now today's video is kind of a part 2 to a previous video I'd made called Who Owns Masters of the Universe, Mattel or Universal. For those of you that don't know the story thus far, there is an ex-Mattel employee who has made some videos as well as some forum posts saying that in 1999, Hallmark, yes, the greeting cards people, Hallmark purchased from Mattel Masters of the Universe and then, and this is a key thing, and then proceeded to license it back to Mattel for the manufacture of toys, or rather he has said that they get the first choice of making toys for Masters of the Universe. And so I did a video in which I looked at some sources that say that no, in fact, that is incorrect. Mattel does actually own Masters of the Universe. For some people, though, the two sources I brought out, one of them being the list of all the trademarks that Mattel has done for Masters of the Universe starting in 1981 for the action figures, and the latest ones being 2020 for trademarking the brand for those two Netflix shows. I think you know what I'm talking about, that Kevin Smith show. And some people, that was not enough. And I said, okay, I hear you. I know you need more Masters of the Universe Mattel proof. And so today I'm going to be showing some more sources. Yes, 3 more sources that should convince you, in fact, that Mattel does own Masters of the Universe, and also what this means in terms of ex-Mattel employees. So everybody should definitely stick around. All right, I'm not going to drag this out. I'm sure a lot of people have, you know, if you've come to this video and you've never seen any of my videos before, but you want to hear about this Mattel thing, I'm sure everybody on that end knows where we're at. You're just looking for proof. Okay, so let's switch over, shall we, to the desktop. I always love doing desktop because I get to be small in the picture while something more exciting is going on. And what we're looking at here is a page for a website called Born Licensing. This is a ad agency, and these are the guys that 5 years ago brought us these He-Man Skeletor ads in the United Kingdom, in which He-Man live action ads walks into a bar. Skeletor is sitting there, they get up, and rather than fight, they dance. Some people think that's amazing and cool. I think that that's lame, but whatever. You get to see some live action He-Man stuff, and you know, some people might think that that's cool. So if we look at their page here, we scroll down, and we can see, here's the video right here. By the way, I also have it queued up on YouTube for those of you that have never seen it. It's, you know, it's these two guys in the bar and they square off and they blah, 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 blah. Okay, so anyways, I think you can go check that out later if you've never seen it. But what I want to point to is on the Born Licensing page, they talk about the approval process. This is kind of like a press release type thing. It says, having already engaged with Mattel, the rights holders for Masters of the Universe, to explore initial feasibility, we were able to quickly negotiate commercial licensing terms to start the project. Okay, so if Mattel had sold Masters of the Universe to Hallmark, and then, you know, for those of you that don't know, the story goes that Hallmark then sold those to a company called Classic Media. Classic Media was purchased by Entertainment Rights, and then they were purchased by DreamWorks, and they were purchased by Universal. That's who owns them now, right? So if Mattel did not own the rights to Masters of the Universe, and in fact, it was only licensed back to them for the toys, Bourne Licensing would not have to go to Mattel to get the licensing rights for Masters of the Universe. If the only thing they have the license to is to make toys, they don't need Mattel for that. They would need Universal for that. So that is another feather in the cap saying that Mattel did not sell. And in fact, if we go to another page on the Bourne Licensing website, this is for the list of Mattel brands that they themselves are now repping. That is, that they can take these brands and they can go find people who might want to license them for commercials or whatever else. If there's a buck to be made, these guys want to make it. Okay, so that is the first source. And some of you are like, okay, well, that's kind of confusing because I don't understand the way ad agencies work. Sure, I get that. Let's move on, shall we? This is our second source. This is a website called Zippia.com, and this is at a page called Mattel hyphen careers hyphen 7181 / history. So this is a big giant timeline that someone has compiled of the company Mattel, and it goes all the way back to when they started. And it has key moments in the history, like with the first Barbie and like the first Ken and Hot Wheels and things like that. As we scroll through the 80s, we see, the He-Man line is introduced, and they talk about different, things within Barbie, promotional campaigns for her 30th birthday, things like that. And major things are listed here. Major purchases of other brands, like when they purchased the Learning Company. That's that company that the guy from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, sold Mattel. Some say that they cooked the books and they were able to sell their company for billions of dollars with a B, and it ended up being that they didn't really have that much income, that much revenue from it, and it ended up being a loss for Mattel. That is listed here. They list pretty much any major event that has taken place, like here in 1999, Mattel purchased the Learning Company, formerly Softkey, in 1999 for $3.5 billion. That is right here. You can see Robert A. Eric was named chairman and CEO in May 2000. That's another major thing that happened. Mattel agreed to pay off $500 million in debt to the Learning Company. As we keep going, you see even more and more things added to the list here of accomplishments or major milestones for Mattel, whether it was a loss in revenue or whether it was a gain in revenue, whether they purchased a brand, whether they sold a brand, and you see this all up and down the list here. In 1999, that was when Hallmark purchased Filmation. Filmation is the company that made the Masters of the Universe cartoons, the animated shows. And so essentially what they were buying was the library of those shows. But that company, Filmation, at the time when they made the shows, they had actually negotiated to own the rights for any characters that they made. So they actually made Orko. I know some of you may not know this, and Mattel doesn't own Orko, even though they own Masters of the Universe, and you would think that the two go together, and they don't. So if they want to use Orko or make a toy of Orko, they have to pay some money to Filmation. And this seems to confuse people because it may make you think that like all of a sudden Filmation owns them. They don't. They only own Orko and a few other things, right? In 99 here, I do not see anything mentioning selling off of Masters of the Universe. And if you go to this site and you scroll through and you read absolutely everything, you will see that they didn't leave it out because they don't do their due diligence. They left it off because it didn't happen. And there's multiple brands in this list in which they buy. And I told you also that they bought the Learning Company. Well, they also sold the Learning Company, and it's here in the list, but they don't mention Masters of the Universe. So if it's not in this list, if this person didn't put it, it didn't happen from what I can tell. But let's go to the third source because this is starting to get exciting. And this is undeniable proof right here. This is a filing from 2020 of Mattel with the SEC. These are filings in which large corporations have to talk about their assets, their losses. They have to talk about all the risks that they might be engaged with over the course of the year of doing business, that kind of thing. They are not allowed to lie. They are not allowed to lie and fib on these things. Otherwise, they face some massive penalties. Okay, so in looking at this, there is a section here under business, right, in which throughout this report, Mattel refers to Mattel and one or more of its family of companies, and they list the 4 areas in which they have product: dolls, infant, toddler, and preschool, vehicles, action figures, building sets, games, and other. Okay, so under action figures, building set, games, and other, it says including brands such as, and the first thing they list is Masters of the Universe. Then they list Mega. Then they list Uno. Then they list Toy Story, parentheses, Disney Pixar. Okay, then they list Jurassic World, parentheses, NBC Universal. Then they list WWE. And then they list Star Wars, parentheses, Disney. Now, why do they put those in parentheses? They put those in parentheses because they don't own them. Anything they don't own on this list in the filings to the SEC is in parentheses. Toy Story is not owned by Mattel. They license it from Disney Pixar. They make a lot of money with it, and so it has to go in the filing. Same thing with Jurassic World, same thing with Star Wars. They make a lot of money with Star Wars, but they don't own Star Wars. Disney owns Star Wars. They don't even write Lucasfilm. They put Disney for that. Whereas Toy Story, they wrote Disney Pixar because I think they may have actually had an existing legacy license with Pixar before they were purchased by Disney. And Jurassic World, of course, is owned by NBC Universal. And so they list all those companies there that own the lines that they license them from in parentheses. And Masters of the Universe is not in parentheses. If they had sold it and were still getting the license from somebody, it would be noted there, but it is not. So what this means is that this ex-employee who at one point had actually managed the brand of a Masters of the Universe line, this ex-Mattel employee, is either incredibly stupid to be at a major billion-dollar legacy corporation. Remember, I pointed they go as far back as 1945, right? The creators of Barbie and Ken, all right? They own Fisher-Price. They purchased Fisher-Price. It's actually on the list there. This guy who worked for them is either incredibly stupid, like just the stupidest person on the planet, right? And doesn't know who owns the brand, or he's lying. So I don't think he's stupid. I don't think the guy's dumb. I don't think you get to those positions by being a dumb person. I don't think you get to those positions by being incompetent. I don't think you get to those positions by being ignorant, right? You can make a mistake somehow where somebody could feed you the wrong information and then you repeat it and no one's ever told you otherwise and you could be living that. That could be a thing. But then to go online and make videos where you know distinctively and you actually say, oh, it's all documented, you can go look it up anytime. In fact, when you do go look it up anytime, it says the complete opposite. So I don't think this guy is dumb. And I'm not calling him dumb. And I'm not calling him an idiot. And I'm not calling him a loser. I am, however, saying that if that's the case, then the only other option is he's lying. And he's knowingly lying. Now, what I find interesting is that recently in one of his videos, he was out there asking for investors to invest $500,000. That's $500,000, people, for those of you who are new to how money works and how people talk about it in videos. So $500,000 is what this guy is looking to get. And in this video, he doesn't mention the name of the toy company, this new startup company, that he's trying to raise investment money for. He doesn't mention the type of toys that they're making for this company that he's trying to raise $500,000 for. And on the one hand, like, okay, yeah, sure, when you're trying to get leads, you need as much information as you can to have the upper hand. You don't want to tell people something so that they do a bunch of research and they come in and now you've got to kind of, he wants people to come in blind, not knowing anything, so that they have to ask him, like, well, who's the company, blah, blah, blah. He needs to have the upper hand, so he's not going to share that information. But he has no problem asking for $500,000 without telling you the name of the company. And given that, and given the fact that he's not idiot, right? He's not ignorant, he's not stupid, he has to know that Mattel did not sell Masters of the Universe to Hallmark in 1999, then he's got to be lying. And all I'm saying to people is, if you stumble across this video and you stumbled across his videos, just take care. Just take heed. You're probably dealing with a con man. And in fact, if you do a simple Google search for guru and con man, you see that guru and con man often go hand in hand all the time. Spiritual gurus are almost always con men. So with that, I don't want to harp any more upon this subject. I just think it's fun to bring out a few more examples for people that still refuse to believe. But I also want to suggest that we all need to be careful and be aware of scammers out there. So with that one, I'll catch you guys on the next one.